Hello and a warm welcome to South Asia Today, where we bring you in-depth insights into the key events shaping South Asia. I'm Shivangi Mishra, and are today's top stories. India's deep tech rise begins in rural innovation hubs. Civilians bear brunt as Pakistan's security challenges intensify amid regional strain. And anti-Pakistan protests escalate in POJK. Joint Awami Action Committee calls for massive shutdown. Let's begin the show. High-tech innovation is no longer confined to big cities and large laboratories. That perception is changing rapidly. Across India, even in small villages, breakthrough innovations are taking root, creating impact that extends far beyond national borders and reaching the global stage. Just outside Pune, there is one such village where cutting-edge science and engineering are coming together, developing technologies that are shaping the future, from life-saving vaccines to clean and sustainable energy solutions.
In Bhatgaon, a small village near Pune, cutting-edge technology is being built. Technology that is already touching the lives of millions. At the heart of it is the bioreactor, a critical machine used in the production of life-saving medicines and vaccines. There was a time when India had to depend entirely on imports for this technology, making it both expensive and inaccessible at scale. Then came a turning point. Dr. Vinod Kumar Patil and his team at Dyna Biotech challenged that dependence and developed India's first indigenous bioreactor. What began as a local innovation has now grown into a global footprint, with these systems being used not only across India but also in several countries around the world.
हमारे देश को सोने की चिड़िया इसीलिए बोलते थे कि हमारा पूरा फार्मर्स का बेस था पास्ट में। वो फिर से अगर करना है तो हमारे फार्मर्स के हाथ में साइंस टेक्नोलॉजी कुछ एडवांस्ड इक्विपमेंट मिलना चाहिए। बायोरिएक्टर मिल जाएगा तो बायोरिएक्टर से एक विलेज सस्टेनेबल विलेज हो सकता है।
The strength of this entire system lies not only just in its output but in the science that powers it. Here, waste is no longer seen as something to be discarded. It is reimagined as a valuable resource, a single integrated process that generates both clean energy and essential inputs for agriculture. But how exactly does this transformation take place? And what makes this technology fundamentally different from traditional systems? Let's hear it directly from Dr. Patil.
अभी ये सेटअप है, इसको हम फर्मेंटर्स और बायोरिएक्टर्स बोलते हैं। ये माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिज्म अलग अलग टाइप के कंसोर्शिया माइक्रो जो ज़्यादा गैस बनाते हैं उसका हमने लैब में आइसोलेट करके उसको ये फर्मेंटर में सीड बना के हम डालते हैं। तो ये 4 स्टेज में माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिज्म ग्रो होते हैं। अभी आपका ऑर्गेनिक वेस्ट जो भी है, पराली है या नेपियर ग्रास है, शुगर केन वेस्ट है, जो भी है खेती बाड़ी का वेस्ट, ये फर्मेंटर में पल्वराइज करके डालते, बैक्टीरिया डालते। यहाँ पे उसको जो गैस बनाने की प्रोसेस में बायोटेक्नोलॉजी मेटाबॉलिज्म इन्वॉल्व है, वो पैरामीटर्स हम इसमें कंट्रोल करते। उसके वजह से रेगुलर प्रोसेस में जो गैस बनती है उसका 5 गुना प्रोसेस फास्ट होता है।
The impact of this technology goes far beyond a single plant. If scaled widely, it has the potential to transform villages into fully integrated ecosystems where waste management, energy production, and agriculture work seamlessly together. And most importantly, innovation is no longer the privilege of big cities alone. In this village near Pune, young scientists are actively shaping the technologies of tomorrow, where ideas are not just discussed or imagined but engineered into real-world solutions.
डीपटेक बायोटेक ये बाहर के देशों में होता ही था, पर अब भारत में हो रहा है और भारत में यहाँ हो रहा है। और इधर का जो रिएक्टर या इंडस्ट्रियल जो इक्विपमेंट है वो भारत के बाहर और भारत में भी वैक्सीन बनाते हैं।
From a small village near Pune to global impact, this story reflects India's growing deep tech strength, turning local innovation into solutions for the world's future.
Pakistan's deepening internal security crisis has once again come under international focus following two consecutive deadly attacks in the country's northwestern region. A deadly explosion in Sarai Norang and a coordinated terrorist strike on a police checkpoint in Bannu have highlighted Islamabad's increasing struggle to curb extremism within its territory. With civilians' deaths mounting and friction with Afghanistan intensifying, concerns are rising over Pakistan's enduring security approach and the terrorist groups that continue to fuel instability across the region.
Pakistan's security situation continues to deteriorate amid a renewed surge in terrorist violence, with civilians once again paying the heaviest price. In the latest incident, a powerful explosion ripped through the crowded Norang Bazaar in Sarai Norang in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, killing at least 10 people and injuring dozens more. The blast triggered panic across the busy marketplace as rescue teams rushed victims to nearby hospitals. Visuals from the site showed destroyed shops, scattered debris, and damaged vehicles, highlighting the intensity of the explosion.
دلته یو ملګری سره ودرېدله 2-3 منټه هغه موږ چې روان دلو بیا دماکه وسله ما دا ویل چې یاره دا خو لکه چې پاس بجلی تارو ډاز وکړه که نه ما لاندې موټرسایکل ډانګ سو ما ترپ کړه پله خو چې بیا زه موټرسایکل ته بیا واپس رانه دغه لوګي لګیا و او ما خلکو ته وکتل خلک ډېر چوک خوږ وله چوک چرنګه و چوک چرنګه چوک منې هغه لګیا وله او وانګیلی لګیا و وی لګیا و ما خپل موټرسایکل بیا روان که خو چې ما جان ته حالات ته وکتل شاته بیا ما نه وینې روانې
The blast came just days after another major terrorist attack in neighboring Bannu district, where a suicide bomber rammed an explosive-laden vehicle into a police checkpoint before armed terrorists stormed the area and opened fire. The coordinated assault killed at least 15 police personnel and reduced the checkpoint to rubble. The attack was claimed by Ittihad-ul-Mujahideen Pakistan, a terrorist alliance linked to the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan or TTP. The back-to-back attacks have raised fresh concerns over the growing strength of extremist groups operating inside Pakistan.
बस 10 रोज دا حادثه شو سنو 10 زخمیان راغلي دي و ډډ باډي راغلي ده او کم از کم دا نو ډډ باډي بنا وران خدای چې وجستا دي مکالکا او حالت بس 10 دي چې ته خپل وینه او زخمیان یا نو 10 ور بیراس لای و ډډ باډي اپ مو راغلي ده دا تازه صورت حال دي.
The violence has further strained already tense relations between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Islamabad has blamed Afghanistan-based terrorist groups for the attacks, while the Afghan Taliban has rejected the allegations, calling militancy inside Pakistan an internal issue. Despite repeated military operations, terrorist violence in Pakistan has continued to rise since the Taliban returned to power in Afghanistan in 2021. Critics argue that Pakistan's long-standing distinction between good and bad terrorists has repeatedly backfired, leaving civilians trapped in an endless cycle of violence.
Now we take a look at some happenings in Asia in a segment called Asia Watch.
In a busy fresh produce packhouse in northern Harare, about 30 women in green dust coats and matching bouffant caps grate heaps of sugar snap peas destined for dinner tables in Europe. The mood in the Kuminda packhouse is cheerful, but the same cannot be said about the start of the fresh produce export season after a rise in freight costs linked to conflict involving Iran. The conflict broke just as Kuminda, a company that aggregates produce from about 5,000 small-scale, mostly women farmers, was readying its first sugar snap peas and Manjatu exports of the year. Kuminda is paying $3.80 per kilogram to export to European markets this year, a jump from around $2 to $2.20 a kilogram last year. Zimbabwe is a key source of sugar snap peas for leading European markets, supplying about 60% of the United Kingdom's imports, according to the British Embassy in Harare. Exports typically peak during the UK off-season window between April and October. According to trade agency Zimtrade, Zimbabwe's horticulture exports reached a record $181.7 million in 2025, mostly driven by blueberry shipments, surpassing the previous peak of $140 million in 1999, just before government seizures of white-owned commercial farms. The Horticultural Development Council, HDC, has urged the government to support farmers grappling with rising costs. The Ziggurat of Ur, a UNESCO-listed ancient Sumerian site in Iraq's Dikar province, is undergoing restoration work as thousands of years of history risk disappearing because of worsening erosion linked to climate change. The Iraqi government said an initial budget of approximately 500 million Iraqi dinars, around $381,706, was allocated for the first phase of a campaign to salvage the heritage site. Kadim Hassoun Honayhin, a member of the Ziggurat of Ur Restoration Committee and archaeology expert, said works were expected to last until July this year. Iraq has already endured decades of warfare that threatened its historical structures. From war with Iran in the 1980s to the Gulf War of the early 1990s, the 2003 US-led invasion followed by insurgent violence and the rise and fall of the Islamic State group. Its latest challenge is climate change altering the country's whole ecosystem, not only putting its agricultural future at risk but also endangering its historical footprint. The Ziggurat of Ur is a massive stepped pyramid temple dedicated more than 4,000 years ago to the moon god Nana. The shrine remains one of the best preserved examples of ancient Mesopotamian architecture, offering insight into the religious practices and sacred rituals of the Sumerian Empire, where one of the world's first civilizations flourished. Tens of thousands of Argentines marched this week through downtown Buenos Aires and major cities across the country to demand that ultra-liberal President Javier Milei reverse the cuts he applied to the budget of public universities. The protest took place at a delicate moment for the government, whose popularity has plummeted this year amid economic difficulties and corruption allegations. Students, teachers, researchers, union members, and opposition leaders took part in the massive demonstration which ended in Plaza de Mayo in front of the government house. Milei, who took office in late 2023 with a promise to make deep cuts to public accounts in order to eliminate the fiscal deficit, vetoed a congressional law in 2025 that guaranteed an increase in the university budget. Although his decision was overturned by Congress, when senators overwhelmingly rejected the veto, the government still has not implemented the funding stipulated in the law.
Moving on. Anti-Pakistan anger is once again surging across Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir as the Joint Awami Action Committee has called for a large-scale shutdown and protest on June 9th. The group has accused Islamabad of deceiving the people with unfulfilled promises and continued political repression. Mounting inflation, prolonged electricity shortages, and growing demands for constitutional rights have fueled further public outrage in the region. Human rights advocates say that instead of resolving these issues, authorities are trying to suppress dissent, sparking concerns over a fresh face-off between protesters and the Pakistani establishment. Take a look.
Public anger is mounting in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir after the Joint Awami Action Committee announced a territory-wide strike on June 9, accusing the Pakistani government of repeatedly betraying the people of the region. The committee has warned of massive protests, shuttered down strikes and wheel jam demonstrations if demands are not addressed by May 31. JAAC leaders say Islamabad has failed to deliver on promises related to constitutional and electoral reforms and has instead used delaying tactics to suppress the movement. However, Pakistani authorities are now trying to pressure the committee into withdrawing the protest call amid fears of a larger anti-government uprising in the region.
जॉइंट अवामी एक्शन कमेटी के रहनुमाओं के साथ जो मुजफ्फराबाद में मीटिंग हुई है वो फ्लॉप है और ये कोई पहली दफा फ्लॉप नहीं हुई। ये पिछले 2 सालों से पाकिस्तान की स्पॉन्सर्ड पीओजेके की पपेट हुकूमत जो है उसने एक ट्रक की बत्ती बनाई है और उस ट्रक की बत्ती के पीछे जॉइंट अवामी एक्शन कमेटी भागती है। ये उनको बुलाते हैं मुज़ाकरात के नाम पर, उनका टाइम वेस्ट करते हैं और जॉइंट अवामी एक्शन कमेटी की जो क़यादत है उसने भी अब ये फैसला कर लिया है कि इनफ इज इनफ और 9 जून को बहुत बड़ी जो है हड़ताल और लॉन्ग मार्च का प्लान किया जा रहा है। वो होती है या नहीं होती है ये तो वक्त ही बताएगा, लेकिन ये प्लानिंग जारी है और जगह जगह पूरे पीओजेके में अवामी एक्शन कमेटी जो है उसके जो लोग हैं वो बहुत गुस्से में हैं।
The fresh protest call comes at a time when resentment against Pakistan's administration in POJK is intensifying over rising inflation, long power cuts, and lack of political representation.
बिजली की शदीद किल्लत है, लोड शेडिंग होती है बहुत ज्यादा। इसके अलावा स्कूलों की जो बच्चों की फीसें हैं वो बहुत ज्यादा हो चुकी हैं। इसके साथ साथ गैस का जो सिलेंडर है वो बहुत महंगा हो चुका है। मतलब है 2-2.5 हज़ार का सिलेंडर था, अब 6 हज़ार के करीब पहुंच गया है उसकी कीमत। इसी तरह से पेट्रोल बहुत महंगा है। इसी तरह से जो इलेक्शन आ रहे हैं जून में, उसके लिए अभी तक जो महाजरों की सीटें हैं 12, उसके ऊपर कोई फैसला नहीं हुआ, क्योंकि जॉइंट अवामी एक्शन कमेटी कहती है कि ये 12 सीटें महाजरों की खत्म करें। क्योंकि पहली बात तो ये कि ये इनमें से बहुत सारे जो है वो रहते ही नहीं है पीओजेके में, वो सिर्फ इलेक्शन के लिए अपने नाम जमा कराते हैं, पास कर रहे हैं।
Human rights activists allege that previous protest movements in POJK were met with force instead of dialogue. They claim peaceful demonstrators faced bullets and arrests, while the Pakistani establishment continued changing political leadership without addressing core public grievances.
पीओजेके के लोगों ने 2 दफा बहुत बड़ी बड़ी जनरल स्ट्राइक्स की हैं, लेकिन सवाए गोली के उनको अभी तक कुछ नहीं मिला, सवाए लाशों के अभी तक कुछ नहीं उठाया गया। और पाकिस्तान की सरकार और पीओजेके की सरकार जो है वो अपने वजीर आजम चेंज करती रहती है और जो है टालती रहती है, लेकिन जो असल मसला है पीओजेके का उसको एड्रेस नहीं कर रही। तो मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि आने वाला वक्त जो है वो पीओजेके में भरपूर मज़ाहमत का वक्त होगा।
With growing anger on the streets and allegations of repression by the Pakistani establishment, the region appears headed towards another major showdown between protesters and the administration in the coming days.
Bringing new hope to one of the most remotest hilly areas of Jammu and Kashmir, construction of a government middle school, Bina Control, in Khavas block of Rajouri, has finally started. The much-awaited project is set to improve educational facilities for students, especially children from below poverty line families, ensuring better access to quality education and a brighter future. Take a look.
A major boost to education infrastructure has reached the remote Khavas block of Rajouri district in Jammu and Kashmir, where construction work on a government school building has officially begun in Sada Panchayat. The project, aimed at benefiting tribal children from below poverty line families, has been widely welcomed by locals who see it as an important step towards improving educational access and creating better opportunities for students in the far-flung region.
आज जो बिल्डिंग आई है सर, पूरे गांव को खुशी है और बच्चों को इतना सारा ना, मेरे छोटे बच्चे इतने खुश हैं और मुबारकबाद देना चाहता हूँ उस ठेकेदार को जो बिल्डिंग का काम शुरू किया।
For families in Sada Panchayat, the beginning of school construction has brought a sense of optimism and progress. The upcoming building is expected to provide students with a more comfortable and organized learning environment, encouraging regular attendance and better academic growth. Residents believe the project will play an important role in strengthening education among tribal communities and supporting the aspirations of young learners.
पढ़ाई का बहुत अच्छा सिस्टम है, हमें सर बहुत अच्छे पढ़ाते हैं, बच्चे आते हैं स्कूल में और टीचर हमें बहुत अच्छा पढ़ाते हैं सभी टीचर। और पहले हमें आज बहुत खुशी है कि हमारा स्कूल बिल्डिंग बन रही है। मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि छुट्टियों से पहले हमारा स्कूल बनना चाहिए।
Under the Samagra Shiksha scheme,
The long-pending project for middle school Bina Control has received fresh momentum with the sanctioning of additional classrooms in Khavas Block, Rajouri. The project includes the construction of 2 additional classrooms and 1 elementary classroom aimed at improving infrastructure and enhancing the overall learning experience. The initiative reflects continued efforts to strengthen educational facilities in remote and hilly areas of Jammu and Kashmir.
सर ये जो बिल्डिंग नई बिल्डिंग बन रही है इसके 3 रूम है, बड़े अच्छे रूम है, एक बरांडा इसका है जो ये आगे पूरा सिरे से सिरे एक बरांडा है इसका। बड़े लोग यहाँ आए बिल्डिंग जब रास्ता देखते हैं तो छोड़ के भाग जाते हैं, लेकिन ठेकेदार ने इसने बहुत अच्छा कॉपरेट किया है, लेकिन इंशाल्लाह हम भी उसके साथ कॉपरेट करेंगे जितना हमसे भी हुआ। हमें बेहद ये खुशी है, यहाँ के लोगों को ये खुशी है कि बिना में पहली बार इस तरह की बिल्डिंग अच्छी बनने लगी है सर।
The development is being seen as part of the broader transformation taking place across Jammu and Kashmir, particularly in remote and tribal regions. Improved infrastructure, better educational facilities, and focused administrative attention are helping create new opportunities for students in far-flung areas. Locals have appreciated the government's efforts, saying such initiatives are paving the way for inclusive growth and a brighter future for the younger generation.
As we wrap up today's episode of South Asia Today, we thank you for joining us. We'll return next week at the same time with more insights and updates. This is Shivangi Mishra signing off on behalf of our entire team. Until then, stay safe and goodbye.